Shabbat Shalom, everybody. This is Rabbi Stephen, Rav Shmuel, with this week's 10-Minute Torah. So, we're pretty close to Rosh Hashanah. We are about a week away from this particular Shabbat. And let us know, please, if you would like to be involved in Temple Shalom's High Holidays. We are doing it on Zoom. At the current time, Rosh Hashanah will be done completely on Zoom. Yom Kippur is pretty much still up in the air. We may get together personally if the state relaxes some of their requirements, some of their restrictions, but we're just going to go with the worst case scenario and assume that we're just going to do it on Zoom as well. So that being, and even if we do get together, it won't be everybody because we're going to be restricted to the amount of people that we would be able to have in the sanctuary at any one time. That means that a lot of people, will still be watching on Zoom. Plus, I know even if we do even if they do ease some of the restrictions, some of you are very concerned about getting together anyway until this COVID thing is next to nothing. So we will probably most likely end up broadcasting on Zoom anyway. So let us know. We will send you the links, and you'll be on the mailing list for our newsletter, et cetera, et cetera. The email to get in touch with Bonnie, our secretary, our wonderful secretary in the office, does a great job, keeps everything organized, does everything we need to do. Her email is there at the beginning of my weekly emails to all of you, so please feel free to reach out to Bonnie. Okay, so this week we are starting to come to a close with the Torah. We are observing two portions. It's a double portion, Nitzavim, which is you all stand here together, and Vayelech, all right? So Moses is on his third discourse, and this is basically his swan song. Moses knows that this is it. He is going to be leaving the Israelites. He's going off to die. He will not come into the promised land. So he needs to wrap up his affairs. And he tells the Israelites, again, he warns them, and he keeps doing this. He says, you're a stiff-necked people. I know that when I leave, you're going to settle the land, you're going to get prosperous, and you're going to think, oh, this is great. You're going to see some of the rites and rituals that some of the other peoples are doing. It's going to intrigue you. You're going to be attracted to them. Maybe you might see that, I can, integrate some of those into our practice of an observance of Torah. Moses says, no, do not do it. I know you'll do it, and when you do, see, Moses is assuming he knows these people. He's seen, what the people did in the wilderness, what the Israelites did. They were, again, stiff-necked, stubborn people. God took care of them, fed them, made sure they had plenty of water, kept their clothes intact, kept their sandals intact, guarded them from foreign invaders. And yet, they still persisted in whining and complaining and, getting intrigued by some of the rights of some of the other peoples. And Moses knows this is kind of in our DNA. We tend to stray. Look at what's going on today with, I'll talk about conservative Judaism since I'm a conservative rabbi. Talking to one of the congregants today, and you see that synagogue attendance is down. Jews just, they become, disillusioned. Maybe they don't feel, the kavod that they should with, their heritage. And quite frankly, it's up to us. I feel it's, as a rabbi, it's part of my responsibility, to bring them back. And Moses is saying this very same thing in his goodbye message. He's telling them, I know you're going to stray, and God's basically going to desert you, or you will think, it will appear that Hashem is deserting you because basically you deserted him. The rabbis call this measure for measure. What you do for God, God will do for you. And it's not a vindictiveness, it's not a vengefulness. It's just, look, we made an agreement, you're not abiding by it, which basically releases me from the agreement, says Hashem. However, God is always waiting there for you to come back. And part of, again, and we're still in this tochacha, this warning, part of the idea that, you will see where's God, and that your prosperity is going to start to wane, and you're not going to be as powerful because you've deserted God and He's not there with you when you enter into battle, or more likely when other peoples start to attack you. But it may take a lot of this, for you to realize that, we got to get back to God. Things are not going well. What's the difference? We're doing, or we think we're doing, everything we should, but the one difference is that we've turned away from the mitzvot. We've turned away from the commandments, and we've gone and we've embraced other gods. Now, some people think that maybe Jews just aren't paying attention to the mitzvot. Maybe there's certain things that we're not doing. Maybe we're forgetting, or, thinking that it's, we don't want to observe Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur that are coming up. Maybe we don't feel that Shabbat is the big deal that the Torah makes it to be. So we're straying from our obligations. In the course of this, we might find other religions, their practices more attractive. Maybe they're easier. Maybe it's easier to do. Judaism is not an easy religion. There's a lot that's required of us. We have a lot of festivals. We have a lot of rites. We have a lot of practices. There are things we can't eat. There are things we can't do on certain days. And I don't want to use the word can't, because again, we've got this obligation. And, where'd the obligation come from? Let's take a sidebar here. This is the Nitzavim, is the portion that has that famous phrase that for those that stood on Mount Sinai and saw the Ten Commandments, and for those of you that didn't. That means that basically our ancestors entered into a pact, a covenant, which obligated us of future generations. Now, some people say, well, is that fair? And yeah, it is, because we get to benefit from the good parts of the obligation, but we do have obligations. Now, some people say that the soul of every Jew that lived then and it would ever live beyond that was at that event. So in a sense, we entered into the covenant as well. Some people say that, even thus us living today might very well be reincarnations of the Jews and the Israelites that were there at, Mount Sinai and heard the Ten Commandments. Either way, in any case, we are Jews. We are descended from the Israelites. We have that covenant. You see around the world today, we Jews have been persecuted probably more than any other people for a great length of time. Some people say it's been 1,500. Some people say 2,000 years, ever since we lost the Second Temple and we had to leave our land. And what has happened? For a great many years, we've been wandering around the world, settling in different places. There were times when we settled in a place, we established ourselves, only to be kicked out generations later. So, but we have Israel again. Now, some people say, well, it's a modern country of Israel, not necessarily the promised land, but Israel's Israel. We have our land back. So, God has been with us the whole time through all these tragedies. And this is Moses' message to the children of Israel as he goes to die. And God tells him, he's going to die. He's 120 years old. He's passing the baton to Joshua. And Moses is going to go off and lie with his ancestors. And it will be Joshua that will cross the Transjordan, cross the Jordan River with the Israelites to take the land. And again, Moses reminds them, it is going to be God that's basically fighting their battles. The Israelites are basically going through the motions. And as long as we observe the mitzvah, God will be with us and God will take care of us. A little shorter than usual. I'm going to end then. I'm going to end right there. Please join us if you'd like, if you're available for the high holidays. We've got Cantor John Guest with whom I'm going to be working. Alan Brown, our great engineer, is going to be monitoring the camera. Toby, our president, will be in charge, and she's got a wonderful Yom Kippur message for you. So again, Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for this year, and we look forward to next year too.